Hello, what's happening? It's Wednesday again. Halenville Live, April 27th, 2022. Charles Green, John Conklin, how you guys doing?
It's good to see you guys.
How you doing? How you guys doing?
Everybody's doing well.
Good. I'm excited about tonight. Yes,
It's gonna be a great show, you
gonna
guys.
have some fun tonight.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we're gonna do our third interactive listening party, and we're gonna be diving down on the Balance album. Yep. And
Yep.
we are gonna get that going after a while. So kids, what we're gonna ask you to do is to cue up Van Halen Balance, the album, and pause it and stand by with it. And we have our copies of Balance on standby, and we're all going to listen to Balance, all 53 minutes of it together. But there's other things that we have to do before then. Yeah. But yeah, so please pull up that audio and stand by with it. And we'll get to it.
I like how Sandra's got all kinds of cool facts about Balance there in the chat. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandra. Let's see who is here with us. Well, I'm over here. Thomas Santiago and Papa Blue.
It's good to see both you guys, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Christopher Live Sour.
Christopher, what's going on, bro?
Ed is here. Ed Dubril.
Ed,
it's good to see you, brother.
Nice to see you, dude. Let's scroll upwards. All right. Okay. We will catch them as they pop in. We have a couple special guests.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah. John, do you want to give us a little brief on our guest who we have tonight?
Yeah, well, everybody probably knows by now. It's on the card there. This is the one we were. Excuse me. It's Mike FRASER. Everybody knows, the legendary engineer, mixer, producer. His go on Wikipedia and your head will explode from all the great music that he's mixed and recorded. Just think Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and then that's Mike mix that. So but yeah, he's a great guy, and we're gonna have a talk with Mike and interview with Mike here coming up,
Mhm.
and then we're going to jump into balance with another special guest. And I'll throw it back to you, Tony, for that.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and bring this special guest in now, and he has been so kind to join us tonight. We're all big fans, and yeah, if you've never seen the British Electric Blues 5150 show, a lot of you have. Yeah, his links are right there and they're down below. Great channel. They do a Van Halen show. Great Van Halen show. If you like Van Halen, you
They go
like Van
deep,
Halen.
man. Those guys go so deep. It's a wonderful show. Wonderful
Yeah.
show.
So there's Andrew and Brad and Haas and the Rock Professor over there,
Yeah.
and they have great guests and great content. Um, yeah, and always waiting for what's next over there. So without further ado, let's bring in a member of their crew, the Big Boss. There he is.
Good to see you, Andrew.
Halen heads,
What's going on, bro?
Halenville, hang 'em high and hang 'em low.
There you go.
Welcome, dude.
Look, it's a pleasure hanging out with you guys. When anyone wants my attention, all they need to do is say Van Halen and balance, and you've got my attention. You know, it's pretty clear. I love this album. I love your channel. Thank you for the nice introduction, Fruitcake Tony. I love what you guys are doing here on your channel as well. John, especially, thank you, John, and also Charles Green, and all the guys behind the scene with your channel, Sandra, everybody. I appreciate the fact that you've set a good shout out for our boys and what we do. And we'll do the best that we can to help you guys do the same thing too. We've got some plans coming up, haven't we, Fruitcake Tony? Some great plans.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But beyond that, have I got a card in here? Have I got a card in here? No.
Andrew, we feel a special kinship with your show.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And I know that our boys do too, because, you know, at the end of the day, we all started, you know, for the same reasons. You know, we wanted to get together, take advantage of social media, meet people all the way around the world, talking about the stuff that we used to, that we've been talking about, John, since we were 13 or 14 years old. You know, remember, you know, at school it was 3 or 4 guys. And then when you started work, there was 1 or 2 guys. And now, Charles, you know, I'm speaking to you, brother. You know, you're in North America, and Tony, you know, we've got guys that we interact with all over the world. That's one of the great things about social media and YouTube.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Hey, special shout out. We got in the chat, Dan from New Jersey, Keith Campbell, Rocker, Nelson Rodriguez. If we didn't catch you, brother, Quentin James,
Nelson, Quentin,
and Gretch Zeppelin. It's good to see all you guys. All
Welcome.
you guys, man. Welcome.
All the rat bags are here.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. A little later on, we're gonna do some almost impossible Van Halen trivia. I'm gonna start calling it that.
Now this is pretty good trivia, you guys. It's pretty good.
I know some of these guys are gonna get it. You know that. Some of the hardcores.
They are good.
They are.
They are good. Yeah. But we'll be giving away a fair warning pass.
Oh yeah. Love it.
But that'll be later on in the show. And so now, those of you just hopping in, cue up Van Halen Balance and pause it. We're going to all listen to it together a little later on. Yeah. All right. So now, our special guest for tonight. Now, Mike is a very busy guy, and for a couple of months we were unsure of when a date would come available. A couple came available and they were on off days, and there was not a time ironed out, but Mike spent a great deal of time with John last week, and we're gonna air that now. John, you got anything to say about this ahead of it?
Yeah, so Mike only had that was his first day off in 2 months, I think, that we got him, and he was cool enough to give us some time while he had tons of laundry to do and stuff like that. Yeah, there was one other date, but then that one he was booked up to do something on that date. So this is it, you know what I mean? So we scrambled and we made it work, right, Tony and Sandra? I mean, we tossed it up in the air and juggled it and made it work together.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
But
I wasn't sure we'd pull it off, but we did.
Yeah. And it went well, and you guys are going to love this.
Yeah, you guys, everyone should follow him on social media and stuff. He's just I always say all of these Canadian guys are just the nicest people. They're always nice, these Canadian guys, and he's no exception. He's the nicest. You'll see on here. He's just a great guy. So he's a fan too. You can tell he just loves music.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and pull that up, John, shall we? All right, let's see here. All right. So it's that one. And this is going to play out of the chute, so you guys enjoy this.
Yeah, we'll be in the chat with you.
Oh, Simon Hosford in the chat, you guys.
Simon.
Hoss. Hey, dude. All right, here we go. Mike FRASER and John. Let me know if the audio is good.
We're here with a very, very special guest. We've been waiting a long time to speak to this guy. This is legendary producer, engineer, mixer, Mike FRASER. And you guys, everybody knows his work. He's worked with everybody from Norah Jones to Elvis Costello to AC/DC to Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin to Chickenfoot and Van Halen, which we're here to talk about today, the Balance album. About 27 years ago. That's a long time, Mike.
Yeah, right.
You mixed that record. Yeah, wow. Right?
Crazy.
So before we start that, I'm waiting. If I retire in a few years, and it hasn't been done yet, but Netflix does documentaries on everything, right?
Yep.
Well, I just saw the one on Montserrat. We were just talking about that, you and I, a couple minutes ago, about the studio there.
Yeah.
They need to do a documentary on you guys, the Canadian guys who ruled the airwaves, you know what I mean, for a huge chunk of time with massive albums you know, for over a decade, you guys were the place to go. Vancouver was the hub for, you know, for rock music in the, you know, the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a fun time for sure.
Yeah. And you guys all pretty much came up together too. You all seem to know each other, right? It seemed like, you know, Jim Valance and Bruce Fairbairn and Prism was all of the band. And it seems all, and Bruce was a horn player, right?
He was. He started out as a horn player, and he played horns in the band called Prism. They decided to kind of go more in a rock direction, got rid of the horns and everything. But Bruce stayed on as a producer and produced all their records, and that kind of snowballed into the Loverboy, which is another Canadian band. And Loverboy did quite well down in the States,
right?
And that sort of got Bruce up on the radar down there.
And Jim Valance was the drummer in Prism, correct?
That's right. Jim Valance was the drummer in Prism, wrote songs. Him and Brian Adams wrote a lot of Brian's early hits. Jim would write things with Prism, some of the Loverboy stuff as well. So with the Loverboy record going up, you know, making noise in the States, it got the attention of the Aerosmith guys. So that brought them up, and then that brought Bon Jovi up, and then Motley Crue, and then AC/DC, and the Van Halens, and you know, it was just this sort of snowball effect that you know, in some ways we kind of lucked into, but you know, in other ways we worked hard and earned it as well, you know. So Bob, Bruce, and I did all those early records together, and kind of were a team for quite a number of years. And well, Bob and I are still doing it. You know, Bruce passed on a few years ago, but Bob and I are still, you know, holding the torch.
Was Bob Clearmountain one of your guys up there too? Was he?
No, Bob's a New York guy.
The New York guy.
Yeah, he came to Vancouver to do an Adams record, and we did that at Little Mountain Sound, and he loved the studio there. I assisted on some of those records. I wasn't engineering yet at that point, but worked a fair bit. And Bob Clearmountain was my idol, so it was awesome to be able to work with him. Yeah.
I bet. Now, so Little Mountain, who owned Little Mountain Studios?
Well, there's a company called Griffith Gibson, and they were essentially a jingle company. They'd write and produce jingles and radio spots and TV commercials and stuff. So they owned the building. I started there as a janitor, and during the day they would be doing all their jingles, and then they'd basically shut the door at 5, 6 o'clock at night. So Bob Rock was working there as an assistant, and he was just starting to sort of dabble in engineering. So at night he'd stay late and record all the Vancouver punk bands and stuff. So I'd janitor, then I'd help out on the jingle sessions, and then I'd say, "Hey Bob, you know, you want me to hang out and help you with that?" So I joined up with Bob. So we worked in like 20-hour days by the time I was done janitoring, jingles, and then working with Bob. But that's sort of how we started working together.
Yeah, well, obviously you loved it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So so with the Van Halen, how early in that project did you jump in? How, you know, what did they have meetings and said, "Hey, who are we going to get to mix this?" And did Bruce say, "Hey, you know, you got to go with Mike," you know, or something like that? Or were you in there during the recording sessions, or did you come like towards the end of the whole thing?
Actually, I was in there very, very early.
Oh, you were.
I don't remember exactly where the call, whether it was through my management or if I was just down in LA. Anyways, I got a call from Eddie, and they were doing writing demos for a new record. So they had me come over to his place in Laurel Canyon or whatever it was, you know, the 5150 studios, and they were just writing. So I sat in there for, I think it was maybe 2 weeks. Whoa. And you know, we'd record bits, and I'd set up drums and Eddie's guitar, but it was just like writing demo kind of stuff. Sammy would come in occasionally, so that was the first time I met Sammy, and it was going like that. So then they got to the point they said, "Okay, well, we're kind of ready to do a record, but you know, we want to get a producer in, because you know, I'm not, you know, like a songwriting type producer." So I said, "Oh, you guys should check out Bruce Fairbairn." So I hooked them up with Bruce, and then I think I went away to do a AC/DC record or something. Anyways, things went very well with Bruce. Bruce came down for a few of the rehearsals, check out the songs. It went really good. So Bruce says, "Okay, we're ready to record. Let's do this." And I'm like, "Well, I'm in the middle of AC/DC now. I couldn't do the recording." So Bruce got another guy to record it. forget his name right now.
Is it Plotnikov? Mike Plotnikov?
No, it was a German fellow.
Erwin Musper.
Erwin Musberger. Yeah. So Erwin came in and Bruce and him recorded that. Can't remember if they did that in Vancouver or where they did that. But then they got me in to mix it once they're done recording.
I think that I just read somewhere that they did 5 vocal tracks at Little Mountain Sound for
right. Yeah.
I guess the rest
probably did it everything down in LA, just cost effective, and then flew up to Vancouver to do some vocals.
So what were your impressions of that studio when the first time you went up there? Because it's basically like a clubhouse in the backyard, right? Or like,
yeah. Well, it was like I think it was like start out as a double wide garage or something. It was a garage event, and then they added on and blew it out. So it was a decent sized drum room and a control room and a little sort of kitchen lounge area. So it was a cool place. But yeah, it was a clubhouse, and Alex had all his different various kits set up in the back, and Eddie'd have all his rigs and everything in the middle. Him and Michael, and it was great.
I think the album before Balance, I think Andy Johns came in and they had added the drum room on there. I guess it had higher ceilings and because they could never get a great drum sound in there. But the one thing about you is every album that you mix, it just they all sound incredible. I always say Mike Fraser should mix every album, every album because it's the truth though. Because even on Balance, when the first time and Van Halen fans, they're all hardcore. It's the Dave, the Sammy, but one thing most Van Halen fans seem to agree on is that Balance is just a phenomenal. It just sounds so wide, so huge. You can hear the drums just sound phenomenal. And it's just like, I credit that a lot to you because every album, it's not just that album. You listen to other albums too that you do, the Satriani albums, the Chicken for the AC/DC, 6 AC/DC albums. I mean, they just sound phenomenal. The mixes just sound incredibly good on them. So, whatever your secret sauce is, it's good stuff.
I just care. I love what I'm doing. I was never good musically enough to make any money at it, so I got into this thing. But I just love music, and it's sort of how I can contribute to it. So I just do it so that I like how it sounds, and hopefully a lot of other people like how it sounds. So thank you so much.
I can tell you, from Van Halen fans, everybody looks to Balance. Even for everybody else, Eddie's tone, they always say the Brown sound, and I always say, well, Eddie had a lot of Brown sounds because the first album, his guitar sounded a lot different than the last album. But people point out they want to duplicate it. And, I want that sound, the Balance guitar sound. You know what I mean? That's
cool. Right on.
Popular one.
Well, funny story there because Van Halen is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because I remember when those first 2 records came out, I was in a little sort of garage band at that time. I remember those records came out and my jaw just hit the floor. I'm like, what the F is this? This is awesome. And I had a little turntable, these little cheap speakers, and I couldn't get it up loud enough. So I managed to get the phono jack out of the thing and plugged it into my guitar amp just so I could crank that record. And I just loved that record. So when we're rehearsing with Eddie in the studio there, he had got his original amp back because that had blown up years ago, and he had sent it off to a guy in Holland to work. And I was over there for years, I guess, waiting for parts. And just, anyways, he had just got it back. I said, let's plug it in. Let's check it out. So I plugged it in. It sounded awesome. But, Eddie wasn't really into it. Like, he had kind of moved on, and he was at that stage where he had the big stereo sound going, he had the 2 different heads and the chorusing, and that's the sound he loved and was into. And, one of the reasons Bounce sounds so wide, he's got that wide guitar sound. Right. But as a fan, I like the sound of those early records,
So there's been stories that he did actually use that on a couple songs under that song Aftershock. I don't know if you recall any of that stuff that he did.
I wasn't there for the recording, but I don't think he did. Just judging from when we plugged it up, and he loved the sound, but he says,
he moved on, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to mix an album like that, do you, because nowadays everybody it's Pro Tools and you have a MacBook, and I guess a lot of your gear is actually on there. It's plugins and things, I imagine, right?
Not for me.
Not for
you. Old school. Yeah.
Good, right?
So yeah.
So when you go so did you mix the album at 5150 or did you do it up in Vancouver?
No, we actually mixed it at the record plant in LA. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to.
I like mixing on the SSL boards.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So because my next question was going to be, did you have to say, I need, how do you do that? Do you fly in your rig but you don't even have to. Record plant has everything there.
Yeah.
So, for Eddie's guitar, he was using the Eventide, the harmonizer on there. That was a big part of his sound. Yeah. So I guess, and that was put in like the post production in the mix, right? Exactly. That wasn't, everything was recorded dry, probably with, I'm imagining SM57, one or two of them on the amp, and that was pretty much it, right?
Yeah, exactly. If I remember right, it was probably a stereo recording because he always had two cabinets and it was being sort of split and done with the, yeah.
And as far as like the, I have a couple good questions I want to ask you about the sound with the guitars and stuff like that. Actually, the drums. I want to ask you about the drums. Yeah. There's a story also that goes around that Alex took Bruce Fairbairn out to dinner and said, over a bottle of wine, said, "Listen, we don't want any fake canned reverb. We only want the ambient drum room sound. That's it." And I mean, can you attest to that, or is it? I mean,
that sounds like Alex. I know when we were doing the rehearsals, him and I spent quite a few days. He had a particular sound he had in mind. I said, "Alex, I love the sound of your drums." And one of the things he does is he takes a brand new snare head and puts it on a snare drum, and then he just tapes every inch of it with a couple of layers of gaffer's tape. That thick tape. And so he gets that real kind of conk sound to it, and that's what he was after. But, we'd try different miking technique, different mics and different EQs, and he was never 100% happy with it. He says, I'm certain I hear it in my ears, but I've never heard it on any of my records yet. But we got it close during the rehearsals. I'm sure he drove Irwin nuts further in the studio. But I know he was for sure, especially in the tail end of the 80s where sampling and replacing drums with samples started happening. He was probably on Bruce's case saying, "Look, I don't want any of that. I want the sound of my drums that we've captured." So I know when we were mixing, we stayed pretty true to that. Yeah.
So, I mean, do you recall there being a lot of mics on the drum when you were mixing it? Like, were there a lot of ambient mics? And I imagine there would be, right? If you're trying to get that kind of.
There would be at least a stereo pair of room mics. From what I remember, there might have been, 4 different, like 2 stereo pair of room mics, and then various overheads and stuff. So I think there'd be lots of choices for different ambiances. Tighter ambiances or larger rooms. He wasn't one to go for that big, like Bonham big giant room sound. He liked it fairly tight, but he wanted the drums to be able to speak in a room and not be here with reverb on them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's like another thing I was saying about it's your style or whatever. It's the clarity. It's amazing for like that especially that kind of ambient sound. But you're still able to, that hi-hat is still it's nothing gets kind of lost in that room sound.
Yeah.
And the kick drum especially too. I hate when kick drums seem to get kind of lost. They're there, but you don't feel. I like definition on the kick drum where I can feel it coming out of the speaker. Yeah. And I hear a lot of albums that don't have that, and it's kind of disappointing. And but
the hardest thing I have with doing room sounds on drums, and sometimes when I get other recordings of people trying to mix big rooms, is the cymbals tend to get so loud in the room that if you put any compression on the room to sort of enhance it, then mostly what comes up is the cymbals, and they just get out of control. And I know I talked to Jimmy Page about when they're doing Bonham and stuff, and he goes, he was great because Bonham always played his drums like an instrument. It wasn't a timekeeper. So if you listen to his drumming, he'd emulate guitar riffs and all this stuff. Right. But he says when we're in a room like that, and really compress the room to get the drums pumping more, John would adjust how hard he hit the cymbals. So he'd be hitting the drums and then he would just touch the cymbals because in the room they would get too much. So he pre-mixed himself in the room, and that's why they sound so big. And if you listen to the cymbals, they go goosh,
right, exactly,
bottom stuff, right. So that's always hard to do when you're doing rock drums. The guys are just rocking away and smashing away. Well, when you get a lot of rooms up, the cymbals can just get way overpowering. So that's one thing I'm always try to be careful of. I like lots of cymbals, but I don't like them taking over. And I want the kick drum and the snare drum to be still in your face, but have a room sound around the drums, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm gonna talk about a few of the songs here. So the first song that kicks off the album was The Seventh Seal. That was it was Grammy nominated for Best Rock Song, I believe, that in '95. Now that song, it seemed like there was a lot going on in the mix on that song. And that one, I almost think that there had to be a little bit of reverb because there's like that floor tom during that chanting part after the break, after the solo. It just sounds incredible. What was that a difficult song to mix?
I think they all had their own difficulties, and I wouldn't say difficulties, but you know, like on that record and all those songs, there's a lot going on. Right. You know, it isn't like just stripped down to just Eddie and bass and drums, and there's a lot of components and layers. So that's always a little difficult. And yes, sometimes we will use reverb as an effect on things. We don't rely on it and just sort of throw it into a big reverb chamber and there's your sound. So that way, things like those tom explosions, or Bruce loved those kind of things too. Yeah, He's got a gun and all that, but you save a plate for get a nice big explosion. So there's a lot of kind of trickery in terms of stuff like that.
Yeah, which was great because Van Halen traditionally never did anything like that. So when that album came out, that song in particular, it just sounded phenomenal. It was great to hear something a little bit different like that from them.
Yeah.
So and then the next song was Can't Stop Loving You, and I know Eddie was using like those piezo transducers on the guitar. It almost had an acoustic sound and an electric sound.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, when you mix that, I imagine maybe that the signal was split and the piezo thing was just going directly into the board. I don't even know if that was even going into an amp or anything like that.
I can't remember exactly, but I know on that it would have been a couple different tracks, like an amp track and a more direct track, so that in the mix I could blend how I saw fit rather than sort of marrying it together at the time and going, I wish we had a little bit more of that. So I know those would have been separate, and we blended it in the studio in the mix for sure.
Do you have a particular favorite song on that album that you like the best?
Oh, the one that always sticks out is Can't Stop Loving You. I thought Sammy sang his ass off on that. Being an old time Van Halen fan, like I was, when Sammy started singing with them, I thought, well, this will be interesting because David to me was sort of their signature sound. But I thought he stepped into some pretty good shoes, and it's no slouch himself. So I thought he sang his ass off on that, and I just love that song.
It's amazing that you've worked with the two bands that have had equally successful singers. The only two that really worked with, if you think about it, AC/DC and Van Halen, and you worked with both of those bands. So, it's pretty interesting.
I did some work with the Motley Crue with John Crosby. So
that's right, you did. That's right.
That one didn't work out as.
But it actually was a pretty good record, though.
I think it was a great record.
It sounded, it might not have been the Motley Crue fans liking, but it was a pretty good record, and he was a good singer. But so just to touch on a few of the other songs on there, the song Amsterdam. I mean, I know that they said there was friction afterwards with the band because Eddie didn't like the lyrics for the song Amsterdam, but the hardcore, the old school Van Halen fans love Amsterdam because of that riff and just the music itself. Anything you remember anything particular about that one?
I just remember it rocking. I personally really like that song as well. I like the intro of it, wham bam, and all that. Like,
and then
I can't remember any, because when you're just mixing the songs, you don't get all the ins and outs of the band doing their parts or anybody not liking things or whatever. They just come into the studio and critique the mix and walk out happy, hopefully. But
how long does it take you to mix an album like that?
I usually mix a song a day. So, if it's 12-song record, it's 12 days.
And do they pop up in there when you're doing it, or do you just
they leave me alone? I like working on my own. Let me just kind of do my thing, and then they come in, sort of dinner time, evening, whenever I'm ready for them, and they come in and listen a few times, take it out to the car or whatever, and we adjust things.
What do you think of the new? I don't know. And I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I'm saying the new style of mastering. It seems like everything's just to the max. What do you like? I know some guys I've heard before, they don't like that. They liked it when it was in the older days, you know what I mean? Because now it's just like, everything's just like everything's in your face, and it just, I don't know, I guess it loses some dynamics that way. What is your
well, I think even back in the 90s there was a thing called the loudness wars, and because CDs, you could get so much more level on a CD than you could on record, because as records, as soon as the vinyl starts getting loud, it would actually physically jump the needle out of the thing, so you couldn't play them. But CDs, unlimited, you could just do it as loud as you wanted, pretty much. So things are getting louder and louder and louder. So what ended up happening is some people would say, well, by the time it hits the radio, it sounds great. Why does it sound so great? Well, the radios just compress it to get all that info across the airwaves or whatever. So when people are mixing and mastering, they say, well, let's make it sound like it's on the radio already. So it's kind of getting double and triple thing. And now people have gotten used to that sound. Some people love it. And when you compress something like that, you don't really need to mix it. You can just put everything up the same level and compress it and EQ it enough so that it balances everything. But it ends up being like, I noticed a lot of songs when the singer's singing and he's loud, the drums are gone. You can't even hear the drums anymore until he takes a breath, and then you hear the drums come back. And I find it really distracting. Sometimes when I send my stuff out for mastering, I'll get it back and I'll play the first little bit and I'll think, oh, this sounds really good. And then the chorus hits and it's still just kind of doing that. Like and I'm like, what happened to all the dynamics that I worked hard to put dynamics into that? The band worked hard playing dynamics. So I don't like it. I like to have the dynamics going.
You're more of an old school, well, purist.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you there on that. I mean, I like things loud, obviously, but just because they're loud, like you said, you hear the stuff on the radio and it's just compressed twice, 2 or 3 times in the process, right? Before it's coming out the radio speaker.
And you know what I find the modern stuff sounds really good on a laptop, on your phone or anything. But if you plug that through a proper stereo, not even an expensive one, just a proper stereo, just try turning that up loud and you can't. It hurts.
Yeah, right.
So
you're right about that.
I like going loud and I like it hitting me here and bashing me, but I don't want it hurting.
Gotcha. Yeah. So just to wind up a few more things on balance real quick, and then just touch on a couple other things. I mean, there was a piano song on there. Do you remember that instrumental, that crazy thing that I think Bruce liked it? It was just Eddie dropping forks and knives on the strings in the piano. Marvin Hamlish was.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was. There was a piano ballad on there called "Not Enough," and then but there was an intro to it, and it was just a couple minutes long. It was just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that memorable to me either, but
I'll have to go check that out because I know Bruce loves a lot of that stuff. We did like all that stuff on Pump in between the songs. Like we made all of that. Like those aren't sound effects that we grabbed out of a library. We made every single one of those. It was so much fun doing. So Bruce loves all those little moments.
It's funny because, and now that you say that, I think that he really thought that was great, that thing. And apparently Eddie had rented Marvin Hamlish. You remember him? His beach house. Yeah. And he had a Steinway piano there. And I guess Eddie was throwing like forks and knives, dropping them in there on the strings. And so I guess
you want to rent a
and then it resolves into this beautiful piano ballad, and Sammy starts singing. But it's very strange though, because even on the Greatest Hits album, they put that piece in front of it instead of just cutting the song and putting the ballad. It has that like 2-minute long forks and knives being dropped. I don't know. It's like Philip Glass music or something. But
appetizer.
Yeah, right. Then there was an instrumental. I don't know if you remember that one at all. Beluchatherium. It was just. I don't know. Yes, I know it's a long time, right?
You know what? I should have listened to this record before we talked, and have some of the memories of it.
But basically, you said you do like one mix pretty much a day. So really, I mean, it probably took you a couple of weeks to mix it, right? 2 or 3 weeks, maybe at the most.
12 weeks. Yeah. Or 12 days, 12 weeks, 12 days. Yeah, be pretty quick. And
obviously the album went to #1, so it was and it was really the the last album that they did as a band, completely, after that it kind of splintered pretty quickly after that. I think Bruce stayed on and worked on a couple songs with them for the movie Twister. I don't think
I think him and Mike Plotnikoff did some of that stuff.
Yeah. And I think there's a story that I guess Bruce was producing a Chicago album. They were doing big band standards back then, right around the same time in LA. He was doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people know it, but I was told that Eddie actually plays the guitar solo on the song Caravan. So, and if you listen, and they didn't want to like announce it anywhere out there, but anybody who's going to watch this, go pull up Chicago doing Caravan from 1995 and listen to the guitar solo. And
sweet.
When you hear it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's definitely Eddie on there. So, but
that's cool. Yeah. Eddie was a great guy. He was such a great hang. Him and I would go golfing quite often. We were almost like brothers. It was like pretty awesome time hanging with him and being a fan originally, and then becoming his was pretty special for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. It must have been pretty cool just being up there, in the clubhouse in the backyard there, right? Just hanging out, And I guess that's what he did, really. He must have, spent most of his time up there just hanging out,
He loved music, loved his guitars, loved playing piano, great piano player too in his own right, but he loved music, and it just had so much creativity to get out and share with us,
there's a whole wall of tapes in the back of that studio that I don't know if you've seen the photos, and somebody's gonna have to go through them someday, but hopefully they'll call you up to mix some of that stuff if they ever release it, because so you went on to work with Chickenfoot on everything they did, all their albums. You produced those albums too, correct?
No, I think I co-produced maybe the second one, but was it Andy or Glenn did the first one?
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. It's probably Andy.
I think he got ill, so I ended up finishing it. There was a couple overdubs, and then I mixed the first one, and then I did the whole second one.
And that's another one. It's a perfect example. If you listen to that album, the mix is just they just sound incredible. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I always say, like I said, Mike FRASER should mix every album because they just all sound really, they just sound so wide. I don't know how you get that huge, just that wide sound. It's like, it sounds incredible.
I don't know what happened. I mix on NS10 speakers, so they're really hard to get them to sound good. They're not great sounding speakers, so I think you got to put extra effort in to get them sounding good. And then no matter where you take your reference mix, it sounds great, So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
The old Yamahas, right? And NS10s. Yeah, that's great.
But I wish Chickenfoot would do more music, that
I know, right?
It's so much fun. Chad's such an awesome drummer, and Sammy's always having fun. And Joe, I've done a bunch of records with Joe, and he says sometimes he just wants to be a rhythm player, and that's what Chickenfoot did for me. And he has so much fun doing that. Like, if you see them live, they're amazing live. And Joe just grin ear to ear, and that's because he doesn't have to be the lead guy the whole time. He can sort of sit back and do his rhythm stuff and let Sammy go off, So it was so much fun.
It's funny you say that, because I always get the impression that Joe, he really wants to do another record, but it's Sammy's the one that's kind of reluctant. Oh, you know what? It's going to take months to get this all set up, and and nobody's going to buy the record, and it's because nobody buys records anymore, and
Sammy's enjoying life, man. He's got such a good life. He's got a great family, great setup at home. He does his little band things here and there, and then he just pops around, and he's just enjoying life now.
Did you record with them up at Sammy's place? Is it up in Northern California?
Yeah. And then actually, when we did the full record, most of it was done at Skywalker Ranch.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because they got the big giant. Well, it's a giant.
Have you ever worked there before?
Big almost. Yeah.
Have you ever worked in that place before?
Yeah, we've done a couple of Satriani stuff there.
You did, definitely. Yeah, so you did quite a few Satriani albums too, right?
4 maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. So, and I have to ask you about AC/DC. So, I mean, did you do the whole last AC/DC album up in Vancouver? Was the whole album was done there?
That's right. Yeah, I think the last 3 or 4 have been all up here in Vancouver. Yeah. They love it up here.
And those guys must be easy to work with, right? They must be.
They're so much fun. I mean, it's the dynamics have changed a fair bit with Mal gone, because Mal was
he was the heart and soul, right?
The ringleader, and and everything. But Angus, still's got the will to go on. Angus is awesome. With Phil Drummond, you can't miss with Phil Drummond and everybody there. Stevie plays really good. He's not a Malcolm, but Stevie's
fits right in though, right?
Yeah. But
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I don't know how, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got it's your your first day off in quite a while. So, I mean, I know you're doing other stuff too. I know you've done Franz Ferdinand and all different types of music. What else do you have going on? What type of thing you doing?
It's be honest, it's been really rough through the COVID thing. Nobody's doing anything. I thought it would probably boom because we're not out touring. So hey, let's do a record across Zoom, even like whatever we got to do. Or I thought there'd be a lot more bands kind of hunkered down and writing, but everybody was just hunkered down. So it just went down to hardly even a slow trickle. So it's been pretty brutal. But since the restrictions are being lifted, and now that there's more shows, because with the shows, the bands are able to generate money. They don't generate a lot of money with sales anymore. Streaming bands don't get any of that money. Everybody else makes the money and the bands don't. So they got to be out playing live to make any money. So now that money's starting to flow. They can afford to come into the studio. So, like I say, I think I've been 8 weeks straight now without a day off yet. So, it's good. I love it. Right. But like it's sort of feast or famine. So it's like right now it's like, oh.
It's kind of a shame what happened to the record business, over the last, 20 years. It's just like, it seems like the artist kind of lost control of, everything. It's just now it's, Spotify, and they're the ones who run the show now. And it's sad because, the only way they make money now is by touring, right? So that generates all the revenue. It seems like that. And nobody buys records anymore. It's a shame, it's.
And then I think it gets to be a raw deal for the fans too, because then the other day I was going to go, who was I going to go see? And I was looking at ticket prices. Well, they start at $160
right.
and stuff. So the fans are getting this hoop too. And, the bands are trying to just make a living and make their money. They're not rich rock stars going, let's charge them that. Like they're just trying to make their own living. And wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a shame. Something's got to give, because it seems like the glory days are over. You know what I mean? And,
Well, see, I always believe, if you look through history of music, it's always like that. Rock is dead. Oh, rock is back. Oh, rock is dead. Oh, here's punk music. Oh, rock's dead. Oh, here's grunge. Right. Oh, so something's coming, is what I say, because it's pretty dire times right now. There's not a lot of great new rock happening. Right. There's metal. There's a lot of good music out, but it's not, that big stadium rock that'll fill the stadiums again. So it's coming.
But and you've worked with like I said, a vast array of people like Nora Jones and even Zach Brown Band. You did something with that.
Yeah, Dave Grohl was producing that. Yeah, that was fun.
That must be pretty cool, right? Yeah. So, is there any particular like music that you really like working on nowadays? Any type of style of music, or?
I love everything. Obviously because of my past, a lot of it's the rock. I like the rock stuff. Right. I've done some metal stuff. I'm not. I don't do a lot of it because I'm not immersed into that thing. I've worked a lot with Ross Robinson, who's done a lot of stuff, the Korn, and we did Amen and Glassjaw and a bunch of those bands together. We just finished doing a record with this band called Molotov out of Mexico. They're huge down there. I mean, it's going nuts. We just put one single out. We're still just finishing mixing the record now, and that's gonna be awesome. It's all in Spanish, mind you, but it's awesome. It's really good.
Okay, check that out. Yeah, definitely. And what about, you ever do any Nashville country stuff or anything like that?
No, I went down to Nashville for a while, and I really like country, but I don't like where country's gone now. It's not really country anymore. It's kind of more pop rock. Actually, if you listen to it, a lot of the songs are like the 80s songs were awesome. Like, forget about the hair band and all this stuff like that. But some of the songs are awesome. The new country is a bit like that, but I don't know if it's just too manufactured for me or something. Like all the auto tuning on the vocals sound like they're just keyboards, and everything's just, and it's almost like it's just done too much to a cookie cutter. And I like something with a little more personality. Like, I like bluegrass. Right. I'll listen to that all day long. I love that. That's what's in my car now. Like when I'm not working, I don't listen to rock music. That sounds like work, but I listen to a lot of bluegrass, and I like old country. So I love that kind of stuff. But just getting down to Nashville is just too tough. Like it's pretty closed shop down there, and they want you to live there to work there. So I don't do a lot of it. I've done Terry Clark, which is a big Canadian artist, some big and rich stuff. But no, it's mostly been the rock genre. But I love it all.
you did, because you did. I remember there was I'm not into like hip hop music or whatever, or rap or whatever, but there was what's his name, Kanan or
Kanan. Yeah, Wave the Flag.
I actually liked some of his music. He had a couple like Sunday Morning. I remember that there was a song called Sunday. I was like, this guy's really good. I thought he was going to be huge. You know what I mean? But nobody had ever heard of him that I know. But I was like, I was playing for my wife one day. It's like, this guy's really good. You know what I mean? So and I saw that you had done something with him, I think too.
Yeah, we did a kind of a one-off for the Wave the Flag, and I forget what that was, for some kind of charity or something that was being pushed. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was we had a lot of sort of the cream of the Canadian artists come out, and it was almost like We Are the World type thing. And a lot of guests, singers, and all that stuff. So that was fun to do. I'm kind of like you. I don't really like the rap and dance stuff, but I gotta say, like, I listen to everything, and every once in a while, I go, "That's a damn good song." I don't care rap or not. Like, so I don't ever brush any of that off. It's just generally I prefer like it just sounds like it's regurgitated.
Right. Well, every once in a while, you're surprised, right? It's like
I like anything music. Like one thing I will not, and I don't like is like opera. I just don't get that. I like classical music, but opera, as soon as they start doing it, I'm like, oh God, turn that off.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'd rather just hear the music part, not that. Exactly. I don't get that either. But so anyway, we'll wrap it up with you. But as far as the balance experience, anything else you can add to that? Working with Van Halen, we all consider this is a Van Halen show, so we consider Van Halen like the American Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? They're like on that Mount Rushmore.
I'm with you on that, and all I can really add on that is my fond memories of the rehearsals. The mixing is just mostly me alone, and then say Eddie and Alex and Bruce would come in. But just fond memories of hanging with those guys. Like, one of my favorite people on this planet is Michael Anthony. He is such a sweetheart, and he's such a big sound of Van Halen. And now, Chickenfoot, with his high harmonies and bass playing, like, it's signature. Like, that's a must for any Van Halen song. Is you got to get him on there. Like, it's just such a thing. And he's such a sweetheart. He's such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And so is Sammy. Like, I know Sammy, some people get such a bad rap and all that, but he's not. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He is such a great guy, and Eddie and I we didn't fall apart, but we hadn't talked in many years before his death. So I kind of regret not having some more thing with him. And then Alex is Alex. He's a great guy, but he likes his alone time. I didn't hang much with Alex other than working on his drums a bit, but I just have really fond memories of what great guys they were. Sometimes you get into successful bands like that, and there's egos flying around everywhere, and not with those guys. They're pretty awesome guys.
Yeah, that's good to hear. It is, and it seems like Michael Anthony. He just he protects the legacy of Van Halen. He it's only the good stuff. He doesn't really dwell on any of the negatives that that's out there. And like you said, when you hear on the Chickenfoot 3, I guess the second record, right? There's just one song that always sticks in my head. There's a song called "Up Next," and when I hear the chorus, when Sammy and Mike are harmonizing together that chorus, I'm like, man, that's that Van Halen. Like you said, that's the sound right there. That vocal sound, it's just incredible.
Yeah,
particular track. I'm like, whoa! It brings me back to the Van Halen, right there. With that. Yeah. But
and anyway. I'm really proud that Wolfie's out there doing it.
Yeah,
too. Because when I was there doing that stuff, he was, I don't know, 3 maybe.
Yeah, right.
Little guy running around, so I never got to really meet Wolfie or anything. But I'm proud of him for carrying on his dad's legacy.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive what he's done. I mean, and you listen to the record, he wrote it, sang it, played everything. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But so do you? What I wanted to ask you about balance? trying to think. There was one other question I had, but I'm probably going to forget it. If I remember it, I'll email you.
Yeah. Call me anytime, late at night. I don't care. Or let's do this again sometime, down the road.
Yeah, definitely. But we really appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, we're huge fans of the album Balance and all your other work too. I mean, everybody just go on Wikipedia and look Mike up, and your mind will be blown. You'll be like, oh my God, he mixed Thunderstruck. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just the breadth of your work there. It's incredible. Really, you had some amazing career. Okay. And like I said, somebody needs to do a documentary on you guys.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Here come the Canadians or something. That's what we'll call it. You know what I mean? And if nobody does it, I'm gonna, in 5 years when I retire, I'm gonna get in touch with Netflix. It's got to be done. Well,
there's a big A&R guy that used to work for Geffen called John Klodner. And, he did all the Aerosmith records together.
What happened to him?
He's still around. I don't know if he's retired or what he's doing. I kind of lost touch with him, but he used to say, what's up with you Canadians? He says, what's in the water up there? What's up with you Canadians? Because, if you go down to LA and work in a studio, like most of the studios were filled with us Canadians. It's like, what the hell is going on? But I think because, with the LA and New York, just over the years from the 50s, whatever, they were kind of the centers, that in Nashville, and they got all the great gear. Well, we didn't know anything about gear. We didn't have gear up here. So we're making records, trying to compete and make them sound like the records down there. And it wasn't until we started sort of traveling more that we go, oh, you have machines that do that? Oh, those, like we had to invent things and work really hard on getting things to sound great to get them to compete with those records. And then we go, oh, so that's how you do it. You had those great microphones or those, old tape machines or whatever. So maybe we just work harder.
Yeah. So do you still work in analog a lot? Do you
as much as I can? It's hard nowadays, just money wise. It's an expensive, time consuming thing. So Pro Tools has made things easier, not always better. I think analog sounds way better, and anybody that doesn't really care, come and sit down in a room with me, and I'll A/B things for you, and I'll show you why I think it sounds better.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that is pretty. Some people are still out there, and they like that little tape hiss too, right? You gotta have a little bit of that tape hiss in the background. It sounds good, right? It's
yeah. Well, we spent years trying to get rid of it.
Yeah,
now
everybody he missed it, right?
I can't say I'm a fan of the hiss, but there's something that it does to the sonics that it just makes it go 3D to me, whereas digital sounds very flat and sounds good. What you put in, you get out. So if you got an amazing sound, it sounds amazing coming back at you. But to me, it looks like a digital picture as opposed to a painting.
Yeah. And one final question. So, do you like recording or mixing, or what's your favorite? Or do you
probably mixing, because that's where I can get the most creative. And then second to that is I like tracking a whole band together.
Right.
All the overdubs and hours and hours of singing and layering stuff I'm not a fan of. That's sort of the long, tedious part. But
right.
Tracking a band live and mixing are awesome.
Yeah, I noticed in your like discography, you've mixed and a lot of live performances, DVDs for quite a bit. I was kind of taken back. It's like, wow, you did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
but that it's fun in a way, but then you're also limited because myself, I like staying true to the show, so I don't like to do too many overdubs. Like I've mixed some records where the bands come in and they've wanted to kind of replace most things and then just leave the crowd so that it sounds live. And I think that's a bit of a ripoff. Then I did a record with Joe, a live thing with Joe, and it actually surprised me because Joe is so particular and likes things a certain way that we decided, now let's not do any fixes. He says, that's how I played it that night. And, he's always like, oh, he's his worst critic. I hate, I can't listen to that. And I said, Joe, there's nothing wrong with it.
All right.
Really sharpen that note. I'm like, you were? Which note out of 10 million? Like, but, he was great. He says, no. He says, that's what I played that night. And he says, I'm good with that. He says, so,
yeah,
I like that.
I agree with you. It's real. It's definitely real that way. And so Led Zeppelin, you mixed 2 songs on one of their releases. I think you did.
Yeah. Well, when we finished doing the Coverdale Page record, we were in New York mastering it, and Jimmy says, "Hey, we had gone out for dinner." He says, "Hey," he says, "like we got, I think it was 2, it might have been 3 songs left." He was in the middle of putting together the remastering and the catalog of the Zeppelin stuff. He says, "We got a couple songs that were finished with Robert singing on and stuff." He says, "You want to have a crack at mixing them?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do." So they were way back, maybe from Zeppelin 2 or something like that, because they're an 8-track.
Wow.
And everything had the effects on. Like the vocal has that reverb already on it that's on the classic record. So I just sort of brought faders up and was like, well, there it is. Okay, good, done. So it's like a half-hour mix kind of thing. Like
really,
out, but it sounded really good. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
that's incredible. So I mean, you really, you've worked with so many of the greats. It's incredible. The Mount Rushmore, Rush.
Yeah,
you worked with Rush too. I mean, it's like if the Mount Rushmore heads, you've worked with pretty much all of these bands, right? It's incredible. So
yeah. I've been lucky.
Yeah, you definitely have. So anyway, I'm not going to keep you any longer, but thank you for giving us this time, and we really appreciate it. And we're going to have a little interactive listening thing tonight when the show airs. Van Halen Balance, and then we're going to play this interview. So you get a lot of people.
Do that tonight?
Well, it's going to be the next Wednesday.
Oh,
but when they watch
that tonight,
right, Mike? You got it. But so look forward to maybe talking to you again one day, and and see what you're up to next. Like I said, I'm a big fan, and I like to follow what you're doing.
Thanks, John. No, it's been an utmost pleasure hanging with you tonight.
Great. It's a big treat for us to talk to you. Thanks again, Mike, for everything.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care. Go check your laundry.
Yeah. Ding.
All right. Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
John, that was an absolutely fantastic interview. And Mike is an awesome dude. My goodness.
Yeah, isn't he a great? He's a really great guy, right? Really cool
guy.
Oh
my goodness.
Really is. Yeah, definitely. It's just funny. I'm listening back to it, and I'm just listening to certain things that I'm picking out now that I didn't really pick out there. Like, I was talking about, the Seventh Seal. We'll get into the album, and I'm gonna save it for that. I'm gonna save it for. But I tried to cover everything. AC/DC I got in there. I got Led Zeppelin in there. I got Joe Satriani. I got Chickenfoot. I got tried to touch bases with all that because, man, he's been involved in some great music, and I'm telling you, now that everybody's familiar with him from this interview, go on that list and his discography and put some of those records on. And I'm telling you, I'm not even kidding. He should mix every rock album, every album, you know what I mean? Because it just sounds, from Balance, just listen, when you put that in, people talk about that. It's like, that album just sounds so good, you know what I mean? And he's a huge part of that, the mixing that album. So he's got, he's got the magic in him. He's got a gift. So anyway. Yeah, it was cool though.
That was a great interview, John. Absolutely.
Yes, it was, John. Man. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And thank you, Mike. That was.
Thank you, Mike. Absolutely wonderful.
Definitely.
That was great. That was wonderful. Great getting to know him a little bit.
So this is one of the reasons why organic fans need to interview these people as opposed to paid journalist writer hacks who don't even know the music. They don't even ask the right questions. So well done, John.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true, Andrew, because you see these people that don't know anything about them and they just ask these basic questions and stuff like that, and it's nice when people are familiar with the guy and they can dig a little deeper and things like that, whoever you're interviewing. So I think that there's definitely value to that. And that's the great thing about YouTube also, because you get a lot more of that because of that.
Well, and I'm sure he appreciated it too. So
yeah, definitely.
Right on.
Thoroughly
All
enjoyed
right.
that, man.
That was awesome. That
Hey, we got
was,
Dwight Bailey in the chat. Ben Coombs is in the chat.
yeah.
My goodness, bunch of
Yep.
people are in here.
All right. So, those of you who are just rolling in, we hope you enjoyed that with Mike Fraser. Um, my goodness, I did. Whew.
Yeah, man.
All right. So, what we're going to do, and we've already mentioned this earlier, we're going to ask you to cue up Van Halen Balance, the album. Your easiest means to listen to it at home on your stereo, in your earpiece, however, and we're gonna crank up Balance shortly. Yeah. Um so we did this with Mike Fraser late last week, and it was the only time he had available. And thank you, Mike, for your time.
Very
But
Very
so we wanted to, since Mike couldn't be here to listen to Balance with us, we wanted to invite someone who really loved this album. And there was a couple of people that came to mind, and Andrew was one of them. So glad that he could be here to listen to this record with us tonight on YouTube, um, where we're gonna all listen to Balance together here shortly. And yeah, so just another way that we're trying to get around the copyright stuff here on YouTube, but we can surely all listen to Balance all together.
Can we play air guitar? Will they copyright us for playing air guitar, John?
I don't know. Tony, will they?
If you nail it. If you nail it. And don't forget, later we'll do trivia, and they think you're going to get it, but we'll see who gets it.
Just give me 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah, not tonight. I'm showing you a picture and asking a question based on the picture. And yeah, Balance. All right. We're going to wait on Andrew. So
Ooh, I know that riff.
all right, John. You about to get me in trouble.
Don't worry, I'm making a lot of mistakes.
You're too good, dude. You're too good.
I'm making a lot of mistakes. Don't worry.
You can do all that left hand. No right hand.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's let it rip.
All right, kids. So all right, so pull up your Balance and get ready to play. And we're going to listen to this and commentate for all 53 minutes of this. And yeah, so listen along. And all right. So everybody, all right, let me get mine up. All right, mine's up. All right. So, all right. All right. So, are we ready?
We're ready.
Are we ready? All right. We will not run a countdown, but we'll do a couple of things here. We're going to put so there's your track listing right there. Kids. And we'll start in about 5 and 4 and 3 and crank it up.
All right. I guess it's kicking in now here, right, everybody?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
So
the bass. Hear the bass?
Yeah, you can hear that bass, huh?
Got it. It's got me, baby.
Yeah.
I'm in love.
So what Mike was saying before, which is pretty important, is like when they put too much compression on it, because drummers tend to hit the cymbals too hard, so they compress it a little bit, but at the same time, then it makes the kick drum suffer and things like that get lost. So like you're saying, John Bonham knew how to control how hard he hit the cymbals, so they could get. That's why the Led Zeppelin the album sounded so great with the drums, because he kind of mix it himself a little bit with as far as he hit, hitting the cymbals. They didn't have to put as much compression on it. But and so I was talking about this song, saying, was this one difficult to mix? Because with the chanting at the beginning, the monks and stuff like that, and then at that break in the middle when Alex is hitting that tom. But what I was going to say before is that he pointed out that Bruce Fairbairn liked that kind of stuff, and then he mentioned, if you listened, Janie's Got a Gun. When Janie's got a gun, dun, 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 boom! It's like that same kind of thing is that floor tom that Alex does in after the solo here when the chanting starts again. So it's kind of cool. So I guess that's a Bruce Fairbairn thing. There's another one with Michael Anthony playing like the 16th notes on bass that he was so good at with his fingers, like on Pound Cake. I mean, the mix is just incredible. You really hear that the hi-hats nice and clearly. And that kick drum, like I was saying, it's got a shape to it. You can, feel it hitting your chest. You can actually hear a definition. And I'm up to the guitar solo part now. I love this guitar solo, and I love that little thing where he hits the flanger there before it goes into that little breakdown. And Eddie got some great.
Sammy's vocals really are tight. Yeah. It's 95, right?
Yeah, 95. Yeah. I think they started
completely different sound to anything else that was happening at 95, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you got to remember too, this is the age of grunge, right? And this album actually went number one right out of the box, Eddie had the wah pedal going a little bit on this song too.
Oh, I love that wah, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is an epic song. I love this song.
So you knew this was a special album after this song. You knew,
sure.
you knew that you were going to be, yeah.
Mix is great on this record.
Yeah, great song to kick an album off. This one, right? So like he was saying in there too. So the guitars were all recorded basically dry with just mics in the cabinet, and everything was put in afterwards in the mix. So he would have put the Eventide harmonizer on in the mix. It wasn't recorded with it on there. So he had probably had the record plant in a rack. He had the Eventide, the H3000, and he was splitting Eddie's signal. You know, I guess they had multiple guitar tracks.
Let's talk a little louder while the music's going.
Yeah. So
I'm sure the kids have theirs cranked up too.
Yeah, right. I think this is more of an experimental song for Van Halen. It's a little more involved than just, even though it is just really bass, guitar, and drum track, it's a little more adventurous. So I think that was kind of cool, something that they stepped out and did a little different than usual. I love that song. I don't know where you guys up to. Is it faded out yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, if you listen to the beginning of "Can't Stop Loving You," you can hear that acoustic kind of sound at the same time with the electric.
Yeah.
The
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking to him about there too. I spoke to Jim DiCola about it, and on the Wolfgangs, he built a guitar for Eddie with it. It has it's called the hold on a second. I looked it up before the show tonight. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so a company called Graphtech makes it. It's called Ghost Modular Pickup System, I guess. So basically, the in the bridge where the little blocks are for the where the strings are, they have like transducers built in, and there's like wires that come out of them, and it's basically it picks up the vibrations of the string, and you split the signal coming out of here into two different amps. One that uses these pickups through an amplifier, and the other one you can plug into an amplifier or directly into the board. And that one just picks up basically the vibration from the strings. So it actually sounds like an acoustic guitar playing. So
yeah,
listen to this song. You're going to hear it coming up right here. Just listen. So you hear it sounds like an acoustic guitar at the same time. And so he's only playing the one guitar, but it's producing both of those sounds, like an acoustic and an electric sound. And the Parker Fly guitar, if anybody's familiar with that has the piezos built into it also. It's really cool. And I believe the guitar Eddie used on the album, it was an Ernie Ball Music Man. I believe it was a natural colored one. And the only place I'd seen him use it, because it was the Ernie Ball, and he stopped using them, obviously, after Balance. He went to PV.
John, a little louder, dude.
Yeah, so he went to PV after, this album was done, and that's when Jim DiCola made him the guitar with this. But if you remember, I think that he was on Jon Stewart's show. You guys remember when Van Halen was on the Jon Stewart show? Mm-hmm. And they played this song on there, and Eddie was using, I think, the guitar he used on the album on live that night. It was a natural colored Ernie Ball Music Man. But yeah, I love the little solo in this song. I don't know if you guys like it. It's just and right after it comes out of the solo, I think it sounds great. And Sandra's right. Sammy does sound great. I love that little solo and the part after it where he's doing the volume knob. And I like the guitar in the background too. The other guitar, I love.
No, nice.
That's my favorite. When they would do it live, he would do that part, the background part.
That does sound good.
It's an incredible sound on it. One day I'm gonna get one of those Ghost systems and put it on a guitar. Great harmonies in the background.
Hey, you can hear Michael.
Yeah.
Real clear.
Yeah.
Real clear.
It's cool how Mike went into about how Alex would take a gaffer's tape and tape up his drum head to get that sound, that signature sound. You can hear it on this album. Yeah.
So cool.
It's just a really great sound with that with those piezo transducers.
Right on.
Yeah. Then you get the first single here. Don't Tell Me.
Great song. What a killer. What a killer tone.
So he's dropping the tuning down there, and he's putting his pinky back here to like mute it a little bit, and he's scraping the pick as he's muting it with his pinky in the back here. Like pinky's back there, and he's going. That's how he gets that weird kind of sound like that.
Very cool.
Teaching those grunge boys a few guitar lessons on how to open up an intro to a rock song.
Yeah. Just sounded huge. I remember the first time I heard this song, just sounded huge.
Doesn't Sammy sound so angry?
Yeah.
It's believable, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Randy Price says that Ernie Ball made Eddie 2 piezo music mans, the Natural that I was talking about, and a Sunburst. The Sunburst is currently in the Ernie Ball vault. That's pretty cool.
Wow. That's very
Hey,
cool.
Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Good to see you, Randy.
Oh, wow.
Keith said, did he use a stone coin or a pick as well? I didn't think he was using the metal pick until 3, really. I never remember him using one before that. I think he was just scraping it. If Craig Stofko does an incredible job playing this. It's probably on YouTube. If you watch him with the finger, he shows you how Eddie took the pinky on there to mute it and would scrape it on there too. He does a great job at that.
Killer guitar player.
Yeah. You got Michael Anthony with the great harmonies in the background, the chorus.
How often do we talk about that? How often do we, as Van Halen fans, talk about that vocal harmony that matches the vocals of the 2 lead singers, well, the 3 lead singers, and how it just elevated a song? How can one man do that?
Yeah, and you're 100% right, Andrew. You're right.
Genius.
Both singers. He sounded amazing with Dave and really with Sammy. Unfortunately, Mike didn't get the opportunity on Van Halen 3 to sing much with Gary. Eddie sang more with him on there, but I mean, I'm sure he would have sounded great live. He did anyway, when he was sang live. But I mean, I always talk about Pretty Woman and how Michael's basically singing lead vocals on that with Dave throughout the whole song. They're both the entire song together, and they sound incredible together. I love the melodic guitar solo in this song.
I know. I love the breakdown.
Yeah. And I like how it's just the 3 of them playing. There's no overdub rhythm tracks or anything on this solo here.
I love the bass here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the fact that, for unlawful carnal knowledge and balance, we really got to hear Mike finally, the bass, you know what I mean? The nice and loud. Early on, you could hear it early on, but then it kind of dipped in the middle where you didn't really hear the bass,
Right.
5150 and, OU812, you didn't really hear much of it. 1984, it was there. It was sonically, it was almost married to the kick drum. It was like the same frequency, that it was so together, the kick drum and the bass. It would sound like one instrument almost on 1984, but really on the last 2 full albums that Mike appeared on with Van Halen, he finally got his due there. It seemed when they worked with outside producers, like Andy and Bruce Fairbairn, Mike really got a chance to shine more.
And look, I agree with what you're saying, John. And I think if there's anything indicative about this album that was reflecting at least the times musically, it was the bass. They had to do that to match what Alex was doing, just to give that extra percussion pop that they needed.
Right.
Because you know, a lot of these grunge bands, and I hate using that word grunge, these alternative rock bands were percussion based. You could hear that. So if there's one thing I think that Van Halen did to match the times, you know, it was that part, and they needed to. And actually it worked out to be a great thing, because we're talking about it 30 odd years later saying,
right,
it's so refreshing after listening to albums where we didn't get it.
Yeah, it was cool. Van Halen was able to incorporate a little bit of the angst of the times in like this particular song, but they never sold out. You know what I mean? They remained true to what their sound, and I think that's, you know, one of the reasons why it was so successful, because they didn't try to be something they weren't. You know.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I love the ending here too, when Eddie's going, you know, doing that percussive thing in the drums. Alex is doing it on the kick drum. Dun, 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 dun.
They're just teaching Metallica a few things, bro.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess Amsterdam, everybody, all the Roth era fans and stuff like that, they just, you know, they love the music on this one because it's just such a great riff, you know, the song, riff-based song. And I know Ted Templeman used to love when Eddie, the riffs, more the riff-based songs, you know. I remember him saying that one time. I think it was during the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge that he preferred it. He's like, you know, the riffs, you know, those were his favorite type of songs.
Yeah. And let's be fair, though, too, guys. We didn't know anything about the friction with the lyrics until Sammy came out with this book, and then Eddie spoke about it. You know, so for years and years and years, we just thought it was a great song. So right. Some of these Van Halen fans that might jump on the board and say corny lyrics, well, you know, yeah. Not all of us were thinking about that at the same time when it first came out.
No, you know what? That's because most of us probably didn't even pay attention to the lyrics. We all love the guitar and the music. You know what I mean? At least me. I still don't know the words to a lot of songs.
I agree with you, John. But we knew what Scoring Panama Red
right.
was.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly, right. Good point, Andrew. Now, if you listen to the chorus on here, you hear Alex hitting the bell on that cymbal. Listen how clear that is.
Just another lovely little touch, isn't it? Yeah.
You could tell that they probably, you know, they tracked this song. The three of them actually playing, you know, the music part. You know what I mean? That I'm sure Mike, Alex, and Eddie were all playing this live, just letting the tape roll. You know.
And see, notice too how Alex was behind the beat there for a little while. Yeah. Just again, another part of how great he is as a musician.
You're right.
Every time I hear this song, the first thing I think about is that video that came out in this past year of him playing this years before.
Right. That's right. Yeah. In 87, he had the riff back then. Yeah. So I'm thinking that Eddie overdubbed the solo part because there's a rhythm track playing in the background that the guitar and bass are playing the same thing. So when they probably played live in the same room, Eddie probably played the rhythm track like he's doing with Mike in the background, and then overdubbed the solo later.
Right.
And then they're playing in unison right after the solo. Yeah, Keith, this is the Jon Stewart Show, right, on old Channel 9, right? They played this one too. I think they played Aftershock too, right, Keith? He played like 3 songs. Jon Stewart's a huge Van Halen fan.
Yeah, it does sound good. You know, I think a lot of that is the mix, but a lot of that is what the tone, what Eddie's tone had become then in the mix.
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of things that like we as fans don't even realize is that a lot of these bands, it's like the pre-production, like what Mike was talking about, where he was there for that. That's when he came on board. Before he was there, before even, the part that before we were recording, we were chatting with Mike, Tony, and I, and Mike said that he was there before Bruce came on. He suggested Bruce, I guess, to be the producer for the album. He said, "Hey, why don't you give Bruce a call? How about, he'd probably work great with you guys." But, the time Mike was there for a couple of weeks, they're just miking it up, getting sounds and stuff. It's like a production sound of, I guess, how they wanted the album to sound. You know what I mean? So They spent a few weeks getting this, this sound so that when it was recorded, that it would sound this good. It wasn't like I think like every album, they basically rushed this one a little bit too, I guess, really 2 months to record it. I think in November and December they recorded it, and really it was out in January, right? Maybe October, November, December. It was, didn't take long, right?
Yeah. All right.
They started working a few months earlier. So asking Alex if he wants to click on this one. I guess there's no click on this one.
Can I be honest about this song?
Uh-huh.
Not my favorite song.
No.
Not my favorite song. Growing on me a little bit over time.
Yeah, I like elements of it, I don't go out of my way to put it on, but if it's on, I won't turn it off. I like it. I like the solo because he's doing like a jazz solo on a Gibson 335 on there, the one that Wolfgang plays. That's the guitar he's using on the solo on this one. And I guess Bruce told him, Eddie, just play something jazzy. And I guess Eddie didn't realize that they hit the record button in there, and Eddie just did off the top of his head, did that solo. And then he says, "Okay, I'm ready, I think." And he goes, no, we already got it. It's already done. We're using that one, dude. That's perfect, So
and thank you, John, for explaining that, because that's a perfect example. And I'm going to be honest here of how my appreciation of a song can change because I know the backstory. Because you hear the backstory to this and you work out, and it's like one of the greatest blues guitars ever that he's used. Then you hear it again and it puts itself into a different perspective. Yeah. So that's what I love. Thank you, John.
Yeah, it's cool. And it is when you hear it, it's very jazzy, the whole thing. And it's a cleaner sound and everything like that. I mean, it's coming up on mine right now. I don't know where you guys are, but check it out.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Yeah, me too.
That's not Eddie Van Halen.
Right. It's John Schofield.
Yeah. Yeah, Keith's right. A 335. Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one Wolf. I guess Eddie must have asked Matt Bruck, "Do we have a 335 around here?" I think that's how the story went. And he's like, "Yeah, they got them labeled upstairs in the cases." And he grabbed one and just, I don't even know if he restrung it up or whatever. That 335, Keith. Yep. I'm pretty sure that's the one that Wolf used a lot on the album.
Well, Eddie didn't often restring. If a string needed changing, he would just change a string, didn't he? He wasn't really keen about changing sets.
Yeah, I know in the old days he never changed strings unless they broke, like back, in the early days. I think, later on, I guess now with the newer guitars and stuff, they would change them every night on tour and things like that.
Sure.
But the old ones, I mean, I think he'd record albums on old strings, I remember him saying he liked the way they sounded better on the dead strings,
John, I'm trying to
Sorry, John.
I'm trying to sync up to the end of this song.
When they were spinning the quarter on the desk there on the soundboard on the board, they had it mic'd up.
That's Eddie.
Yeah, right.
Very clever. Pinging.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, back and forth, right? And so this is Marvin Hamlish's piano in Malibu, right?
This what $50,000 piano or something?
Yeah, I know he had to pay for it, I guess, because I think he did a lot of damage to it, so he had to have the whole thing, refinished and everything. I guess he probably burned cigarette, burns in the keys, I'm sure. You see him in the Panama video, right? He's wearing the tux. Valerie's sitting in the background. That's this piano. I guess that's when he recorded this part when they rented that beach house. It's the same one from the Panama video, and there's some other pictures of him sitting there. I guess they have of him sitting at that piano.
So can I ask you guys a question? So when you listen to this and then you make a jump to Van Halen 3, you can see where Van Halen 3 had connections on this album and where Eddie was going with some parts of Van Halen 3. Is that something you guys can see clearly, or is that just in my own imagination?
I think you can see it. I think that
it's pretty clear, actually.
But it's funny because I think Sammy was a very powerful presence on a lot of these albums as far as the arrangements of the songs and things like that. And I think that, you really do, because when Gary left, Gary left, it was like, you realize like, wow, Sammy was really big. He was great with melodies and stuff like that. Sammy really does have a gift too. So did David Lee Roth. He had a gift with melodies, and David's lyrics were very clever. But I think both of them. But a lot of Eddie's music suggested melodies too. I think a lot of those songs that him and Alex just jam, they'd arrange it, they'd do a demo of it or whatever, and they'd give it to the singer. And it's like this song right here. Eddie's basically the melody that Sammy's singing is basically like right there for Sammy to just come up with,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like listen to the verse right here, So Eddie has, I know he had two Steinway grand pianos. I think one's from 1910, and I forget the other one was. And I think he kept one at the house and one up at the studio, but he probably switched them around, I'm sure, a few times too over the years.
And another reason why it's famous too, the when we saw the PV, didn't we, on the
video, yeah.
On the what was the talk show? That guy.
Oh, David Letterman. Yeah, the Red
Letterman.
Yeah,
on the Letterman show with
the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so I don't know if he used the PV prototype on this album at all. Does anybody know, Keith or Well, I wanted to also mention Randy said Eddie borrowed a lick from the jump solo in Big Fat Money at about 1 minute and 58-second mark. And so I don't know if Randy or Keith, do you guys remember? Panama video's piano was black. Marvin's was white. So do you know if you used the Wolfgang on any of the album here, or was it all the Ernie Ball, the Music Man still? I'm thinking it was pretty much the Music Man still, because this was recorded in November 95 and Letterman was months later, right?
Yeah. This is the Music Man, definitely.
Yeah, he said he got the prototype mid-tour.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the Leslie from the Hammond B3, the Leslie speaker, hooked up to the amp on this one for the solo. That's how he gets that really cool sounding solo on here. The Leslie would spin around like that, and that's right here. It's coming up on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith, you're right. Because most of Eddie's songs are either in like C or D, the piano songs, and this one wasn't. This one was in like, was it B or B flat or B sharp? What would you? There were more black keys in it, basically.
They'll be writing books on this song, John, Tony, and Charles.
This song's got a little
My favorite song off the album.
Yeah, it's got a lot of orchestration in the background there too. I guess that's another Bruce Fairbairn thing.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I thought Sammy's sang great on this whole album.
This album is brilliantly produced.
Yeah.
So I got another question for you guys then. So obviously at the time we didn't know there was friction between, you know, the guys in the band. And so we all know that there have been some great rock and roll albums produced over the years where the friction in the bands pushed that dynamic to provide that, you know, Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, for example, you know, would this album have been any different, guys, had they not had the friction?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. You know, it's weird because I don't know how bad the friction was during the making of the album. It's like, you know, you kind of hear it after the fact, you know what I mean? But, you know, when things really went south, when the Twister thing was going on and, you know, and then Eddie would point back to this and, you know, Amsterdam, that's when we kind of learned about that and, you know, things like that. But I don't know. It didn't seem like it to me that there was a lot of bad friction on the surface. Maybe underneath there was, right? What did you guys think?
Are you guys at the end of that?
Yeah, I'm already into Aftershock now.
Yeah, I'm into Aftershock.
Me too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Another killer riff.
Yeah, exactly. This is another one you could tell they played live in the studio. You know, all three of them played.
That's really when they capture their sound.
You got it, Charles.
The truest sound that we all know. That's when it really is magic. At least for me.
I agree.
Alex's toms, you know, just that ping off it's just they recorded it well.
I was told that on this song, maybe you guys know that too, Randy or Keith or anybody else in the chat, that he was using the old Plexi on this song. I had heard that.
Yeah, I heard. I can't confirm that either. I heard that.
Yeah, but Mike said he wasn't there during the recording of it. You know, I didn't know if the track sheets said that or if he remembered that. You know, I was asking a lot of him to try to remember something from like 20.
It sounds like it, John. It really does to me.
Yeah, it does have.
Was that Randy who said that?
I don't know, Randy. Did he say it in there? I know my friend. I think Joe Suma that we talked about for the EVH Con and Jimmy Vombis. I think they both say it's the Plexi on this one.
Well, yeah, you know.
Yeah, Randy
John
said the Plexi
Bonham
was used for the
Plexi.
cleaner tones.
Gotcha, bro.
And this song's got two solos in it. The first one is that real melodic one, which I love. I love that little melodic type of solo before the main solo.
It's a killer song.
Yeah, Keith, that's your homework. Get back there. Go pull out the old magazines. Let us know next week, right? I'm up to that part. I love this little solo here.
Yeah, I am right with you.
Yeah, same here.
So melodic. Here, Alex tapping that bell on the cymbal. I mean, listen to the clarity in those drums, right?
It's phenomenal, John.
no canned reverb, and that's here comes the solo. So Eddie's, it looks like he's on the neck pickup here, I think, right? On the neck pickup here.
Sounds like it,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no treble pickup.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
It's funny because
Sounds killer.
yeah, you listen to For Love for Carnal Knowledge, and he's got the Saldano SLO on that, and that was the gain on that was like a lot of gain out of control. But this album, like certain songs, it does sound a lot cleaner, like
Is that because they want the delays to work better, John? So they turn down the gain a bit so that so the delays can ping back.
He was using that same H3000 on For Love for Carnal Knowledge, pretty much the same kind of setup. I don't, I guess his every album, his tone really kind of changed a little bit, really, right? When you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I noticed that of this album especially, there's a variety of tones on this album.
Yeah.
And that's not something that holds steady through most other Van Halen albums. This is really a pioneered album in many ways.
That's a flanger coming in the end there.
Yeah. Randy said they demoed 20 songs for Fairbairn on this album for Bruce Fairbairn.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they
we want the other songs.
Yeah, right. I think they only finished maybe one other one or two other one. Well, one of them we know they used with David Lee Roth singing on it. Can't get this stuff no more on the greatest hits. That was during these sessions. That one was recorded, and Sammy claims that Dave basically took his melody and everything for "Can't Get This Stuff No More" from his version of it that they recorded that they didn't finish or didn't use for the album.
Yeah, could have been double out. Hey, Alex, we know you're watching this. Come on, Alex. Drop those songs for us.
There you go.
Now, this freaked me out when I first heard this. What's going on here?
A lot of people said, "Oh, Van Halen got lazy because instead of writing songs, they like Baluchitherium was." I guess Eddie even said it was meant to be a real song with vocals on it, but Sammy didn't write words for it, so they just decided to do it as. So, like you were saying, maybe the tension was there because Eddie had intended that to be a real song with lyrics and everything and singing on it, and Baluchitherium, and then you got this right here. So, and then the strung out, so a lot of people said, "Oh, Van Halen got kind of lazy on this album." It was just,
And then you got, then we hear rumors where Sammy said it sounds good as it is.
Welcome, Joe.
Right, exactly. That's what Sammy said, right?
Yeah. Who do you believe? Gosh.
I know, right? Exactly. But I do, like he says, I love Baluchitherium too as an instrumental. It's kind of cool that you got all three of them, Eddie, Mike, and Alex just jamming out on that one song. It's cool.
And this is, this is where it just sings.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Eddie overdubbed the 6-string bass on this too. You can hear that at the beginning. The same one, the same thing he used at the beginning of "Run Around" and Spanked. Well, on those he used the Longhorn bass, but this one he probably used the Ernie Ball, either one of the double necks or just who knows, he may have used one of the Longhorns too on this. I always go back to the drums though. I mean, listen to the clarity on that hi-hats, and like I said, when he's hitting on the bell on the cymbal, how clear that is, and the crash cymbals, how they just he does that Ringo Starr wash. He rides on the crash cymbals. That's and Alex that's a signature thing of his that Ringo did. So I mean, obviously Alex listened to the Beatles when he was a kid too, and that's probably why Alex is deaf from riding on those crash cymbals.
This is so cool to be able to listen to this with you guys here on YouTube, live on the show.
Well, look, how many times have we done this over the years with your mates? You get your mates together, come over to John's place. Why? He's just got the latest Van Halen album. All right, we'll be there 5:30. You're there and you're listening to it, and it's like, shut up, Andrew. I'm listening to the effing record.
The only regret I have, Andrew, is that it's not a brand new Van Halen album that we're here listening to right now. You know?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
You know?
I know.
Yes.
oh.
But
We hope and pray.
yeah, well,
Alex.
maybe, whatever they come out with, maybe we'll see something down the road. If not, well, the next Mammoth WVH album, we should do a listening party when it comes out.
Right there.
Lovely. I'm going to go for the status quo, guys. I'm glad they didn't put lyrics to this.
Yeah,
That sounds so good.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, I like the fact that we have something just with Eddie, Alex, and Mike. You know what I mean? That's cool. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the guys, the three that were on the recorded albums from the beginning, really. And then the end's coming up, and everybody knows that Eddie's Dalmatian Sherman was on this one, right? Or they taped a hot dog to the microphone, I guess, and they got him to bark.
Like a good dog.
I think you can hear that 6-string bass on this part here too.
Yeah. Yep.
Eddie's making those dinosaur sounds in the background and his elephant noise. It's got a cool tone.
You're very clever, John.
Sounds prehistoric, doesn't it? And there's Sherman barking backwards, I think, or whatever they did.
Well, that's why it's really important, guys, to listen to at least all our albums that we love with headphones. You can pick up, obviously, a lot just with your speaker system, but when you listen with your headphones.
Yeah.
You're right. A little wind chime. Now, this intro is from a song from way back in like 77. The intro was here.
Really?
I forget the name of it. I'm sure one of you guys know that. Randy said on that last one he used a Music Man Albert Lee in the Good Enough tuning, not the 6-string bass.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Oh, whoa. Interesting.
So this intro could have fitted on a Deja Vu album. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young would have just fitted in there. No problem.
Well, it's funny because, you listen to on Sirius Radio, they have, the Jimmy Buffett station, and this song could fly on that, or the Kenny Chesney. It's No Shoes Network. It definitely was. And it's funny because I saw this today, earlier today. Let me see if I can find it again here. I don't know what kind of acoustic he was using there. I don't know. Was it one of those PV acoustics at that point?
Oh,
I don't know what he used on this song. Anybody know?
No idea.
Randy?
oh, gosh.
Keith, Randy?
No, we did when we did the ranking of the tracks. It's not the Ovation, is it?
I'm not sure.
No.
But anyway, this is what I was going to say. See that right there? So this on this date, April 27, 2012, Kenny Chesney takes his tour crew to see Van Halen concert at Nashville's Bridgestone Arena. So Kenny Chesney was a huge Van Halen fan. And as we know, Eddie and Alex got up on stage and played with him. That was like the only time really that Alex has done really anything outside of Van Halen. But there's Kenny's Whole Road Crew, and he's right over there. I know he's a huge Van Halen guy too. But I always say, man, this song would fit in well on his station. I don't know if he knows about this song, because I'm sure they would play it on this song. It goes to that whole island vibe.
Mm-hmm. That would fit.
So everybody wants some is saying the Fernandez with a question mark, but Randy Price is saying it's a Yamaha CPX or a APX. I think
what?
Randy's right.
Randy's right, because I have a Yamaha CPX. Now I remember.
Yes.
You're right. Yeah.
Yep.
APX, I think it is.
Yep.
Yep. I have one of those.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah. So this one, he looks like he's just he's playing the acoustic and dubbing the electric over it, obviously. I love that chorus part when the chunk, 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 chunk.
It's beautiful.
And then he throws some slide. Eddie actually played a lot of slide on the Van Halen albums. You know, when you think about it. And he played pretty well. Right here, solo.
Mm-hmm.
Very well done.
I love this song. I know this is one of the ones where they did the vocals up in Vancouver.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're right, John. You know, with that stutter strum that Eddie does, and Alex is matching that with the tom.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's them talking to each other, isn't it?
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I love this part here. It's that little harmonic. Boom.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that song.
Right on. Right on. All right.
Yeah, and then the final track here, "Feeling." This was never one of my particular favorite songs. You know, it's like I don't dislike it, but it wasn't one of my go-tos. But I do. The more
I agree with you. But it grew over time with me.
Yeah, I agree too with you. There, I listen to it now. I'll be like, I like that, the guitar, and I do like the way that it ends the album, just the way it goes out. Yep. I think it's a good ending.
And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I liked it a little bit more over time is because I was reflecting a little bit more on the words and the lyrics of the music I was listening to. And you know how we said earlier that we weren't listening to the lyrics, we were just listening to the guitar stuff, you know, for a long time, weren't we? You know, you listen to the lyrics on the song, you know, it's philosophical. It's pretty good.
Yeah. John Paul is all bulletproof. I like the background vocals here where they're Michael, and I don't know if Eddie's singing there or not, but
yeah, Keith is right. Another killer solo.
I think Michael was doing most of the background vocals on this album, if I'm not, if I remember correctly. Because even live, if you remember that tour, and even on Jon Stewart and all those, like Can't Stop Loving You, Eddie wasn't even really singing on there at all. I think Michael had said some of the things he would do more, some albums he did more of the vocals and,
Well, in fact, there's a lot of gigs there, John and Charles and T-Cake, when Eddie's wearing the headband during that era, where I'm sure Eddie doesn't even have a mic in front of him.
You know what? On that tour, they had those weird looking. They look like pagers, beepers on top of the mics. And I think what those things were is when they approached the mic, it would it was, I don't know if it was some kind of gate, noise gate that would close the mic, and when they got in front of it, it would open it up. I think that's what they were. Somebody in the chat might know. So that was on that tour. But I think I remember Mike saying that he would do both parts on some of those albums there, and I think Balance is one of those where Eddie didn't sing as much on that album. And Randy, it was posted up there before. Randy said the Plexi was used on Aftershock, which is what we were talking about there. The Big Fat Money solo and Not Enough solo through the Leslie. And the clean parts on this song, Feeling.
And then it chugs up.
Yeah. I love when Alex kicks it in there with the drums. And that's one of the things Mike pointed out. If you remember in the interview, he said Alex didn't want that big room like Bonham. Everybody says Alex wanted Bonham, but Mike, obviously he's right. He was there. He didn't. It's not a big sounding room. It's an ambient room, but it's not a huge room. It's like a medium or to small size ambient sound in there, so you could hear everything. Yeah, Randy, Ted Templeman doubled Eddie's vocals on a lot of the older stuff. Yeah, I mean, Ted, on like Dance the Night Away and stuff like that. Ted is on a lot of those earlier albums too on there. But I'm not going to discount it. Eddie had a nice tone to his voice. He sang pretty well.
I just want to link back after listening to this solo to a comment that you made a little bit earlier, John, about having not a lot of gain, and that's a perfect example of a solo there's not a lot of gain in there.
Yeah, and that one's on the neck pickup a lot too, that solo there. I know they had a couple others. Randy, do you remember the names of the songs that they had that they didn't use on this? Was one called, I don't know if it was Carnal Knowledge or this one. I know they had one, Out of the Ether and The Wish, and I don't know what was from this album that they didn't finish. Anybody know that? Keith, you know that? Yeah, Ted never liked the room sound much. The stuff at Sunset Sound, I think I pissed them off on one of their videos because I said that I like the drum sound at 5150 better, and they're just like, well, that's your opinion, I don't think they liked my comment on it, because I do think that Alex got the sound that he wanted at 5150, you know what I mean? Or closer to. Like Mike said, he's never happy, but but you listen to For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge and Balance, and even 1984, I think the drums sound great on that album. And that was only 16 track in the small room with the Simmons kick drums and all,
Well, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, John, because they'll be in there communicating, talking about what they're hearing coming through the monitors, and do you like this? And is it, yeah,
right.
And look at that clip that they that's on the YouTube where they're doing that Who cover, Won't Get Fooled Again, and you can see clearly Alex in the drum room, clearly they would have been talking.
That video is like gold. Hey, do you guys get the vibe of Led Zeppelin a little bit at this part of the song when it like Kashmir a little bit with the strings like the synth in the background?
Good point.
I can hear that.
And the ending's coming up. I love just the way it ends.
Absolutely, Paulie. So
there it is. One of the longer Van Halen albums, 53 minutes of history, Paul. You're right. That's it.
And guys, for me, a sense of melancholy, when we listen to that now and what didn't happen and what did happen and what could have happened, perfect ending to a great era.
It's true. It's definitely true. It's just sad that they couldn't get along. that's the bottom line. It's really sad that every version of Van Halen, they pretty much couldn't get along. But they did leave us with some great music.
Yes, they did.
Yes,
they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't wait for tonight. I've been listening to Balance all week.
It's on permanent rotation in my vehicle, mate, all the time. It has been
Definitely.
for 20 years.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly on that last one.
Yeah, but it was so. Thanks to Mike again for
Thank you
coming
so
on.
much.
What a great guy,
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful interview.
and everybody
Yeah,
check out some of his other stuff because the magic sound that you hear on this album, you'll hear on that. Well, everybody knows. They know the AC/DC stuff, even their newest stuff. Listen how just how great it sounded, the clarity, everything. You just hear every instrument just like, and just kicks. Dude, everything kicks. It just sounds great.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
here we go. Randy Price, Shaker, the backdoor shuffle, numb to the touch, or balance leftovers. And I don't know which ones were finished. Was backdoor shuffle? Did that become can't get this stuff no more? I think right. Because I know Sammy wasn't happy that Dave basically took his melody and used it exactly as it was. But there was
Correct.
no lawsuits involved, right? But and I guess during this time, Eddie had written the music for a Year to the Day. That was the one I think. What did they call it? Was it Close to You or something like that? Closer to You or something like that? You guys might know. But I think they wrote the music. Eddie wrote the music to it at that time, and I guess Sammy they may have demoed it or whatever. And he was saying that was their Stairway to Heaven, that song, I guess. And I guess Bruce Fairbairn was in the room when they were working on writing it, and he wanted a cut of because I guess he thought it was going to be a huge song, so he wanted some songwriting, a chunk of that, the rights to it, and I don't think that helped, when things started to unravel between Eddie and Sammy, and and I wonder what that version of the song would have sounded like with Sammy singing it, because really, when you go back to Van Halen 3 and you listen to that thing, sometimes I listen to that guitar lick and everything for that song, Year to the Day. And it is an amazing one. Now, I wonder how Sammy would have approached it lyrically, because Sammy had we know that Sammy could write a pop melody, a hook melody and something like that. Would have probably been a lot different than what Gary did with it. But, I wonder if that exists. I would love to hear it,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Keith, you're right. Crossing Over was already done as well. Just added Sam's vocals, I think, right? And Ed's playing the drums from the demo on the one side to Simmons, and then Alex is on the other side, right? But yeah, so I mean, hopefully some of these songs, are good enough to release at some point. But like Wolfgang has said, and and other people have said, if if they were that good, then they would have been on an album already. So that's
Yeah.
But
All right. So when we do trivia in a little bit, and we
night, Joe.
are. All right, Joe. See you. Thanks.
Be well, Joe.
We're going to play for a fair warning pass, but we're going to up the ante for tonight. Okay? All right?
Nice.
So, if you've won one of these, we've been giving these away for a couple of 3 weeks, however long now. So, if you've won one of these already, if you haven't won one, I hope you win one. But if you already have, and I don't have many of these, but we're going to send you in the mail one of these things. Let me
Nice.
show you this.
Nice.
And you'll get the cord and all. but that's for anybody who has won a fair warning pass already. We're going to let one or two of these go in the next week or two. We'll have that on standby. These guys think you can answer this question. I tried to make it hard. But it is going to involve you typing fast, so get ready. Get your fingers ready. Yeah.
I think it's going to be within 1 minute.
I think Keith Campbell's going to get this one.
Yeah, Keith, here.
Yeah.
Really do.
Randy's on fire tonight too. So
I don't mean to put you out there, Keith, but this is all you, brother. It really
Am
is.
I exempt again? That's what he's asking. Is he exempt?
Yeah. He's tough to beat, but hey, all you have to do is type fast. You can do that. All right. So I'm going to show you guys a picture. And I'm going to ask you a question based on that picture. Right? So get ready and good luck. There's an email address down below. Trivia winner's email. It's a couple of bars down and a couple more. Check out all those links. You'll find Andrew's links down there to British Electric Blues 5150 show. You'll find Brad Cook's links there. You'll find Simon Hosford's links there. You'll also find the promo video in the shotgun position down there to Simon's May 19th tribute show that we are all excited for.
Anticipating big time.
Yeah, so that's down there. Check it out. But check out all the links. And Andrew, thanks again, sir, for being here. This is such a pleasure, such a treat.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, guys.
We love you and Brad and Simon. You guys are just outstanding people in this community. We love you guys.
Thank you, brother.
You guys
thank you. And like I said at the intro, you know, it's great that we can support each other because that's what YouTube's about, isn't it? It's about entertainment,
that's right.
Information, entertainment, and education, you know, and having a bit of fun. And, you know, we like that. And we appreciate the fact that you guys are doing that as well, too. So you learn a lot. You know, we all thought that we all knew truckloads about Van Halen, but you know, I've learned half a dozen things by just hanging out with you guys today. And what a great interview too, John.
Oh, John, out of the park, brother.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It helped that he was such a great guy. He really is.
Yeah.
Awesome dude, man.
We did that at the end of last week. That was we weren't sure the hour it was gonna come and happen, and but it happened.
Jerry, Jerry's late. Hey, I'm late, everyone. Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Jerry, you missed a lot, buddy.
Good to see you, Jerry.
You got to watch the replay.
Hey, Jerry, nice to see you. Yeah, what Andrew was saying, that ultimately, you know, no matter who you are, where you live,
that's the word.
you know,
no argument, brother. No argument.
That's the word, right
and
there.
that's the thread. Absolutely.
Yep.
So
I think you need Charles's picture in the corner pointing at that.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, nobody owns Van Halen on the internet. on YouTube. It's Eddie left it for us and for everybody. So
That's right.
Yeah, we just have to look after it as core fans, don't we, John? We just look after it. That's it.
Yeah, keep it going.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, hang on a second. Let's keep the torch lit. I cut it off while we were doing the interview, but poof. There it is. All right. So, yeah. So guys, I'm gonna show you a picture and I'm gonna ask you a question.
Good luck.
Get down to it. We're going right into it now. Get ready to type. Here you go. All right. So when I'm going to ask you this quick, I'm going to show you and ask you. Here you go. Who are the other two people in the back? I need both first and last name. Misspelling is fine. I need both names. You can do it.
That's a hard question, Sandra. That's why.
I thought somebody would have had it already.
That's a hard one.
Oh.
Oh.
No hints from the panel.
So he needs first and last names, right?
No hints from the panel.
No, you need first and last names, right? First and last names.
Yes, so let me show you the picture again. All right, here we go. Right there. Eddie and Dave, who are the two people in the back. I need first and last names for both. If you misspell, it's fine. Take a crack. What do you think?
Dan says, please keep the picture up.
I'm sure. I told you I was going to get them.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a hard one.
I thought this
Told you I was going to get them.
I thought this was going to be 60 seconds. It would be over.
I'm
I
shocked.
actually did too.
Right, Charles? Right?
I'm shocked.
Only because John got
on.
it in 5 seconds, both of them. That's why he said 60 seconds, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Tony, take a look.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right. There it is.
My man.
Yes.
Ban him.
All right. So, yes. So, Kenny Richards and Eddie Anderson. Let me show the picture again. Yeah, there it is. So, Kenny Richards on the left is the drummer, the original drummer for Autograph, who opened as the opening act for Van Halen on the 1984 tour. Kenny passed away about 10 years ago, unfortunately. We'll talk more about that in a moment. The guy on the right is of course, the head of security, Big Ed Anderson.
He was in the police uniform in the Panama video when Dave was getting arrested in the towel down the hallway there. That was Eddie Anderson, I think, in the police uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew that, but I didn't know the other guy. So, and Dan is saying too hard for him.
What was the story with that? Kenny Richards was Dave's jogging partner, and Dave told him that if you put a band together, you can open for us or something like that?
Right. Well, Kenny and Dave jogged in the morning, and Dave just asked him, is how I heard it, and they were jamming, him and those fellas, and they makeshifted a Winnebago and drove to the opening gig in Jacksonville in January of '84, and um, drove from gig to gig and didn't get signed until they played Madison Square Garden, and is when they got approached and got signed. But that was how long into the tour? That was,
3 months, March, end of March.
Yeah.
So, the other, I guess, the autograph trivia is on their second album. I think Michael Anthony sings background vocals on the song "Blondes in Black Cars." Little trivia, right?
Excellent trivia. Excellent.
Yeah.
And I think on the 1984 tour, when they were talking about bands to open for them, I think it was a Dave rule. The lead singer could not have blonde hair, because I know Twisted Sister wanted to, and Dee Snider was saying that he would have dyed his hair black just to get that gig, and they didn't. So I guess ultimately Dave said to him, "You put together a band, it's yours." So,
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
What a rock and roll story that is.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, it is, and we were all waiting on the release of Steve Lynch is writing a book. He's got a couple of books out before, but we're waiting on a new book. But
oh wow,
sad to hear yesterday that the bassist Randy Rand has passed away. I saw that
rest
on
in peace, Randy.
Steve Lynch's. Yeah. So that was not good news.
Not at all.
Yeah, and Randy was the bass player. They've had a couple members in that band in their history, but Randy was the band throughout. Or he was the bass player the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, sad to hear of his passing.
Yeah.
Don't know any details or anything or with him, but yeah. And yeah, but the band were still working, still touring. Steve Lynch had left the band, I guess, a year or so ago, and under great terms, and they trudged on, and they were out there, and yeah. So
when Steve Lynch's book comes out, we should try to get him on. That would be cool, right?
Awesome. That would be awesome.
Well, I'm sure.
Speaking of books, guys, have you guys heard anything about Steve Rosen's biography? You're close to him, TK. Has he said anything to you about when he's going to drop it?
Well, I do know that there were 3 more chapters added.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was, I guess, a few weeks ago now.
So how many pages is it going to be? 1,000 pages now?
It might be, but it's
bigger the better.
Off to the printers apparently by now. Yeah. Yeah. So we're all eagerly waiting that. Sure.
Oh.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
But
yeah. I'm not going to do anything for a week. I'm going to do the best I can to try and read it as much as I can.
Yeah, brother. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Keith, I'm going to send you out one of these things.
You the man, bro. I knew it. I knew it was you, Keith, for some reason,
Keith,
bro.
Obi-Wan Kenobi Campbell.
And dude, nobody has these. So Thanks, dude.
You rock, Keith.
You definitely rock. Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Holly Lewis in the chat. Good to see you, sweetheart.
Hey, Holly.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's awesome, awesome. Ex-jazz
Nice.
dancer.
We hope you enjoyed the listening party. We listened to Balance tonight. And we hope you enjoyed the interview that John did with Mike FRASER. Um, John, dude, that was spectacular.
Yeah, man. Out of the park, bro.
It was tough. It getting it done.
Yeah.
But
This
dude,
stuff still amazes me,
man,
like how we have Andrew from New Zealand on live right now, and everything's so smooth and in real time. Just the way we put that together, where you're in North Carolina at work, I'm at home, Sandra's in Wisconsin, Mike's in Vancouver, and it was just like, it's like how are we gonna make this work? How are we gonna work this into the show? It was just like it went off without a hitch. It was great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I had to do all that stuff on this in the middle
Yeah.
of a day. Yeah. So, but it worked out great. It turned out great. The video and the audio and everything, and you can see that it was made in the daylight. But yeah, John, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, man.
Good brother.
And I just want to say one other thing, guys, before we bounce out of here. What's really important, John, is that you've given again another another reference point for people to go back to in the future, because he may not be writing a book, he may not be writing any articles about his experiences with Eddie Van Halen. So the fact that you and your channel here with Fruitcake Tony have taken the time out to interview these guys, well, it's there forever now. So at least his experiences about what he did with Van Halen on Balance are on record. That's what we do as organic fans. We're just doing that, aren't we? Leaving a permanent record.
Spot on, Andrew.
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
Well said.
Definitely is true.
Yeah. Yeah, let me show this before we so this was this is just announced. This Alder Bridge Hailstorm Mammoth WVH. Look at that. Yeah.
All throughout Europe, huh? Germany.
Wow.
So
Hamburg,
November.
Copenhagen, Berlin, Prague, Paris, Munich, Zurich, Vienna, Amsterdam, Glasgow, Dublin, Manchester, London, Birmingham. So the European tour, and it's starting.
Lines up at the O2 Arena in London.
Yeah, starting the 1st of November and going to December 12th. It looks like.
We're going to have to get the rock professor to go to the gig and do a report for us.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Get the rock professor out to Van Halen. I mean, to Wolfgang.
Exactly.
Well, you can see where he's added these May dates already, but then he already had the June stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And now, so what's missing is August, September, October, but he's not quite, but almost got the whole year zipped up.
Gonna be in Europe a lot between the Scorpions and this.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's huge.
So,
wow.
That is huge.
And I'm sure he'll add dates where there's not dates on that schedule.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we'll be talking about all those dates as they approach Um, yeah, and May is just around the corner, and they'll start a string of shows here in the States.
How
And then,
important is this tour for Wolfgang, do you guys think? How important is it?
I think it's pretty big, and I think he
It's
realizes it.
absolutely huge.
well, for him to be a part of this and where he's going, and with the Kiss and the Scorpions dates already, it's very important to sow your seeds in Europe while you're young. So if like his dad sowed his seeds over there early, and it made a huge difference in their career. It did.
That's true.
So
Very true.
yeah, so
A lot of exposure.
yeah,
Mm,
it's huge. I think for his career, for him to go to Europe and take it over there. Absolutely.
Yep.
I would still like to see Wolfgang do a duet with another rocker. I believe it was either Keith or Christopher in the chat about 6 months ago. We were talking about this same subject. And I believe one of them said it before I did, that it would be awesome if he did a duet with Lizzie Hale for an upcoming something. I hope that actually happens, since they're actually on tour in Europe at this point. It's just kind of weird how things transpire.
Yeah,
And,
I remember you said that, right? You thought that
you
was
know, yeah, we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen 1/10 of Wolfgang yet. I think it's possible that
Yeah.
Wolfgang may actually outdo his father's numbers. If he lives long enough. He's huge.
Absolutely.
He
Oh, he will.
spreads different. He spreads multiple generations. I listen to him. My son listens to him. My grandson's listening, and granddaughters are listening to him. That's amazing to me, because in my day, when I was their age, I couldn't make my father listen to the music I listened to. I'd have to choke him, and it still wouldn't have done any good. So yeah,
Well,
yeah,
whether they like
yeah.
it or not, our kids will be hearing or knowing about him making music long
Yeah.
after we're gone.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
that is an absolute fact.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. He's killing it. If you ask me, he's killing it. So,
I got one last thing for you guys here. Keith, you asked about this. Right there, Chicago. The album's called Night and Day.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Fairbairn produced it in 1995. It's like jazz big band classics reinterpreted by Chicago. And listen to the song Caravan, and listen to the guitar solo about a minute and 19 seconds in. And I was told that was Eddie playing the guitar, and they didn't want to make a big deal about it and let everybody know, so they kept it quiet. But I guess Bruce asked him, "Hey Ed, can you just lay a solo down here on this for me? You don't have to make it sound like completely Eddie Van Halen. Just put something on there." And he said, "Sure."
Wow.
And I think they did
Well,
it at 51.
Well, I listened to it, John, when you mentioned it earlier at the top of the show, because I cheated,
Uh-huh.
and I'm look, I didn't know that. It's one of the things I learnt, and that sounds like bloody Eddie Van Halen to me.
Yeah, it does.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Let me go over a couple of things. I want to touch on a couple of current events, but before I do that, let me recognize, if you want a custom guitar built, we got a guy, Neil Daly. His links are in the description. Daily Custom Designs. Yep. You'll find him right below.
Neil.
If the cigar box style strikes your fancy, we also have a guy, Brendan B. Squared, that guy right there.
Love that guy.
His links are down below, and
Yeah.
he'll take care of you, making you something that looks like that or otherwise.
Custom.
Yeah. Absolutely. There was something else.
Hey
Yes.
guys, Boner Jams is in the chat. Boner, it is awesome to see you, brother. Hope you're well.
Hey, dude. Welcome. All right. Let's see. So,
Hey, Holly, give Caravan a listen there.
okay, I got it way up here. All right. So, this weekend on Show Me Your Pick, Saturday, 9 p.m. How you like that?
Love it. Love Steve Clark.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about Steve Clark and Def Leppard, but Steve Clark. And you're going to see some serious Steve Clark guitar picks that you ain't ever going to see anywhere else. I promise you that. But Andrew, speaking of guitar picks, I kept this out just for you, my friend. And I want to show you this. But I love the shape of this. But let me show you this. So let me hold up a regular sized.
Oh, wow.
So this, let me see if you can get a close up. It's a 1.5, but here's who it is.
Tony Emmanuel.
Tommy Emmanuel.
Wow.
Tommy, yeah. Wow, that's a fat pick he uses.
Yeah, it's a 1.5.
That's an awesome pick, Money. Awesome pick, bro.
Yeah.
That's interesting because normally a fat pick, when you're using an acoustic on a fat pick, it doesn't give you the that you would get normally with a say an average pick. You'd normally get a bit of bite. So that's just a standard pick, and this is like these fat picks that the bluegrassers like to use, and it's a bit of a duller sound. See?
Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
Well, I think he likes these possibly because of how he holds them and how others feel in his hand. I'm sure it's got a lot to do with that.
Hot girls are back. Hot girls.
But I kept that out, Andrew, because you had him on.
Yep. On our Christmas show.
And Holly says, "And boys, evidently, hot girls and boys video chat."
Yeah, well, you know, we're into hot people. Yeah. Sorry, Tony, you've been serious, and now Holly's just making us take the whole conversation somewhere else.
It is all good. So this is the last show for April. We got some stuff happening around here on Wednesday. A couple of guests lined up. Couple of cool things coming your way right here on Wednesday night. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to wind things down, I guess, at this point. So thank you, Sandra.
Thanks, Sandra. Love you, sweetheart.
Yes.
Yes.
And thanks to everybody watching. This has been really fun, you know. Mike Fraser.
Thank you, Mike. That was so good.
Yeah,
Thank you for your
goodness.
time. John, out of the park, bro. Wonderful interview.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Wonderful.
a fun one. We got more good ones coming up too. So
yes, we do.
Awesome.
I'm excited. Yes. Andrew, sir, thank you so much, dude.
Yes, guy.
No, appreciate it, brother.
Always a pleasure.
Love you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And if anybody is watching a replay and hasn't already subscribed to Fruitcake Tony's channel, please hit that subscription button and do Tony and his crew a favor. Share this channel on your social media links. Help the channel grow. Ask people to subscribe. It works.
Thank you, Andrew.
Definitely subscribe.
Yeah. And I trust that everyone is subscribed to Andrew over there. If you're not, or you think you might not, his links are down below. Check and see.
Hey, Gearhead just popping in the chat. Check the replay, Gearhead. It was a great show, bro, and welcome, man.
Nice to see you. Yep. So we're going to wind things down, and we'll be back right here next Wednesday. Yeah, we will. John, Andrew, Charles, have a great week. Thanks. Always a pleasure, everybody. Have a great week.
Love you guys.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on replay, thank you. Thanks for watching. And any last words there, Charles?
Hey, a quick shout out to Lenny, Lou, and Mary. We love and miss you guys. Get well, Lenny. Analog, I still haven't seen you in a minute, and we all really miss you, brother. Tommy, keep getting better. This is Halenville, and around here, every single road leads straight to Van Halen, you guys. Be well and rock on.